In 1960, a German factory worker kissed his wife goodbye in Buenos Aires, and he never came home. His real name wasn't Ricardo Clement, it was Adolf Eichmann, the man who designed the logistics of the Holocaust. 6,000 miles away in Moscow, a Soviet officer crossed a name off a list that contained 20,000 names. All of them SS officers, and all of them marked for death. Now, you've probably heard about Israeli agents capturing Eichmann, but here's what you don't know. The Soviets had been hunting him for 15 years. They had files on every SS man who ever pulled a trigger. They tracked these men from the ruins of Berlin all the way to jungle compounds in Brazil. They turned Holocaust survivors into assassins. They infiltrated the Vatican, and they blackmailed American intelligence officers. This is the story nobody tells. The story of history's longest manhunt. May 8th, 1945. Berlin is burning. Hitler is dead, and the Red Army controls the city. But Soviet soldiers keep discovering mass graves, hundreds of them, with thousands of corpses in each one. Women, children, and entire families. Stalin issues a new directive. Find every SS officer and make them answer for what they did. A special unit called SMERSH takes command. The name means death to spies, and their new mission is to hunt the SS. Not arrest them, hunt them. Viktor Abakumov leads SMERSH, and he's Stalin's personal executioner. He begins compiling lists. His men raid Nazi headquarters and seize membership records, photographs, and home addresses. They interrogate prisoners for 12 hours without pause. No sleep, no food, just names. By June, they have 250,000 names. Major Anatoly Novikov discovers a mass grave outside Minsk containing 3,000 bodies. He recognizes his sister's clothing among the dead. She was 14 years old. That night, he writes to Moscow, "Every name we eliminate brings peace to our dead. I will not stop until the list is complete." The Soviets lost 27 million people in the war. That's one death every 2 seconds for 4 years straight. Entire cities ceased to exist. In some villages, not a single man returned home. The Americans want to rebuild Germany. The British want to return home. But the Soviets, they want blood. So while the West celebrates victory, Soviet hunters spread across Europe. They carry photographs, they memorize faces, and they begin the hunt. Here's what separates them from every other Nazi hunter. They don't care about trials, and they don't require evidence. They only need names. The SS men aren't fools. They know exactly what's coming. Within days of Hitler's death, they start running. They burn their uniforms, they steal dead men's documents, they grow beards, and they become farmers, mechanics, and priests. But to truly disappear, they need assistance. So a Catholic bishop named Alois Hudal creates an escape network. He calls it Mercy for the defeated. The Vatican provides him with rooms, money, and blank passports. The escape route works like this. SS men reach Rome, and Hudal hides them in monasteries. He provides them with Red Cross documents bearing false names, and then ships carry them to Argentina. The Catholic Church finances the entire operation. They call these routes ratlines, like rats abandoning a sinking vessel. Soviet agent Pavel Gishin infiltrates a Red Cross camp in Austria by posing as a refugee. He observes SS officers receiving new identities. He memorizes their faces, their new names, and their destinations. Every night, he radios Moscow from a hidden transmitter concealed in a barn. But here's where things get complicated. The Americans are also in these camps, and they're not arresting SS men. They're recruiting them. Operation Paperclip, that's what the Americans call it. They want German scientists for their rocket program, and they want SS intelligence officers to spy on the Soviets. Over 1,600 Nazis receive American protection, complete with new identities, new lives, and generous salaries. Franz Stangl ran Treblinka death camp. He murdered 900,000 Jews. The Americans know exactly who he is, but they need his colleagues' rocket expertise. So they let Stangl walk free. He escapes to Brazil. The Soviets are outraged. These are the same Americans who were their allies just 6 months earlier, and now they're shielding mass murderers. Ivan Serov, the Soviet intelligence chief, sends an encrypted message to all agents. The West has chosen sides. They protect fascists. We stand alone in pursuing justice. Act accordingly. The gloves come off. Soviet agents begin kidnapping SS men from Western zones, dragging them across borders in darkness. No one ever sees these men again. The Soviets realize they need assistance. They can't monitor every port, every border, and every monastery on their own. But certain people will never forget an SS face, people who witnessed those faces every day in hell. So they recruit the survivors. Alexander Pechersky led the only successful death camp uprising. At Sobibor, he helped 300 Jews escape, and he killed 11 SS guards with an axe. Now the Soviets assign him a new task: identify every guard who survived. Pechersky never sleeps peacefully. He sees faces whenever he closes his eyes. But now those nightmares serve a purpose. He examines thousands of photographs, and he remembers everything. The guard who cherished his dog more than Jewish children. The officer who forced people to sing while digging their own graves. That one, he points. Karl Frenzel. He made my friend carry her dead daughter for 3 hours. He's calling himself Carlos Fernandez now, and he's living in Sao Paulo. The Soviets develop a system. They show survivors photographs of suspected SS men and document every detail. These survivors remember everything: scars, limps, missing fingers, speech patterns when angry, and even preferred cigarette brands. But some survivors want more than identification. They want vengeance. Enter Nakam. The Hebrew word means revenge. Jewish partisans who lost everything form this secret organization. Their plan is to kill 6 million Germans, 1 for every murdered Jew. Abba Kovner leads them. The Nazis killed his entire family, so he obtains poison from a chemist. In April 1946, his team infiltrates a bakery that supplies bread to an SS prisoner camp. They coat poison on 3,000 loaves. 2,000 SS men fall ill, but none of them die. The poison wasn't potent enough. Kovner flees to Palestine, but his message is clear. The survivors aren't merely victims anymore. They're hunters, too. The Soviets recognize the opportunity. They secretly fund survivor groups, share intelligence, and supply weapons. An underground network forms, stretching from Moscow to Munich, and all the way to Buenos Aires. Information flows through hidden channels. A Holocaust survivor named Helena works as a secretary in Hamburg. She appears to be nothing more than a war widow, but she's actually a Soviet operative. One day, she spots her former guard buying groceries, the same man who murdered her infant. She follows him home. That night, Soviet agents knock on his door. He's never seen again. Stalin dies. The KGB replaces SMERSH, and the Cold War divides Europe in two. But the hunt continues. It simply becomes more complex. The KGB discovers something valuable. SS officers make excellent double agents. They're already living false lives, and they're terrified of exposure, perfect for blackmail. Eduard Roschmann murdered 35,000 Jews in Riga. The Soviets locate him in Austria, where he's working for American intelligence. They present him with a choice: work for us, or we'll inform everyone who you really are, including the Israelis. Roschmann chooses survival. He becomes a triple agent. He feeds the Americans false intelligence while reporting CIA operations to the Soviets, and he helps track other SS officers. All of this just to preserve his own life. East Germany establishes the Stasi in 1950. and their surveillance network becomes the most comprehensive in history. 1 in 3 East Germans informs on their neighbors. Every letter is opened, every phone call is recorded, and every visitor is photographed. Markus Wolf directs Stasi foreign intelligence, and his agents penetrate the West German government. There, they uncover something explosive. Hans Globke, advisor to the West German Chancellor, authored the legal commentary for Hitler's race laws. He helped construct the Holocaust's entire legal architecture. The Soviets transformed this into propaganda gold. They publish Globke's Nazi documents worldwide, and the message is unmistakable. The West protects war criminals, while the East delivers justice. But the greatest propaganda victory involves Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon. He tortured and killed thousands of French resistance fighters, and he personally murdered Jewish children. The Americans hire him to hunt communists in Bolivia. They pay him with taxpayer money, and they know precisely who he is. In 1971, the KGB leaks Barbie's location and his American protection to French journalists. The scandal erupts, the Americans are humiliated, and the Soviets achieve a massive victory without firing a single shot. So the hunt becomes more than just a pursuit of justice. It transforms into a Cold War weapon. Every exposed Nazi in the West damages American credibility, and every captured SS man in the East proves communist moral superiority. The real challenge isn't in Europe anymore. It's 7,000 miles away in South America. Juan Perón loves Germans, and his Argentina welcomes 10,000 Nazis. They receive new identities, government positions, and police protection. They construct German schools, German hospitals, and German neighborhoods where Spanish is never spoken. Josef Mengele lives openly in Buenos Aires. He uses his real name and appears in the telephone directory. The Angel of Death, the man who experimented on twins at Auschwitz, is practicing medicine again. The Soviets can't invade Argentina, but they have communist parties throughout South America. So they convert local communists into spy networks. Miguel Santos drives a taxi in Buenos Aires. He's also a Communist Party member, and now he's a Soviet asset. He cruises through German neighborhoods, photographing license plates and recording addresses. He notes routines, who departs for work and when, who meets whom, and which children attend which schools. In 1960, Santos notices something interesting. A bland man named Ricardo Clement never receives visitors. He never attends German clubs, and he never drinks in German bars. He's too careful for an ordinary immigrant. Santos reports this to his handler. The handler cables Moscow. Moscow checks their files, and Ricardo Clement matches Adolf Eichmann's description. The Soviets face a decision: seize Eichmann themselves or alert others. They choose to leak the information to Mossad. Why? Because an Israeli kidnapping in Argentina will damage American-Argentine relations. The Soviets win regardless of the outcome. But not every hunt succeeds. Paraguay's dictator Alfredo Stroessner actively shields Nazis. He grants them ranches, government contracts, and fresh identities whenever required. Soviet agent Viktor Kosov infiltrates Stroessner's government, spending 3 years posing as a forestry inspector. He maps Nazi settlements and identifies 67 SS officers. He's just 2 days from extraction when someone betrays him. They discover Kosov's body in a river with his fingernails missing. His handler receives Kosov's final report, written in invisible ink on a cigarette package. Mengele departed for Brazil. Pursuing the Soviets and Israelis sometimes collaborate and sometimes compete. Often, they sabotage each other's operations. In São Paulo, Soviet agents track Mengele to a pharmacy. They're prepared to seize him, but Mossad is also watching. The two teams spot each other, and in the confusion, someone alerts Mengele. He vanishes. Both teams blame each other. Mengele dies in 1979 while swimming at a beach. He drowns alone, no justice, no trial. Just an aging Nazi dying of a stroke in warm water. Both the Soviets and Israelis tracked him for 34 years, and neither one captured him. The 1970s bring computers, and everything changes. Previously, the Soviets maintained paper files, millions of them. Locating a single name required weeks of searching. Now they digitize everything. 20 million documents covering every SS member, every sighting, every alias, and every contact. Search time drops from weeks to seconds. They share this data with unlikely partners, the Simon Wiesenthal Center in Los Angeles, Jewish documentation centers in Paris, and even certain CIA officers who hate Nazis more than they hate communists. The results come immediately. Johann Voss, a former SS guard at Mauthausen, had lived quietly in Cleveland for 25 years. The computer links his immigration papers to his SS file. He's deported to Germany in 1978 and dies in prison. Gustav Wagner, Sobibor's deputy commander, had been hiding in Brazil since 1950. The computer connects witness testimonies to recent photographs. Brazilian police arrest him in 1980. He dies before trial. Some say it was suicide, while others say it was Mossad. But the greatest breakthrough emerges from an unexpected source. The Berlin Wall falls. Suddenly, Stasi files become available. 14,000 garbage bags of shredded documents containing 600 million fragments of paper. But there are also intact files on 12,000 SS officers that the West never knew existed. Karl Linnaeus operated a concentration camp in Estonia. He personally shot Jews into trenches. He'd been living on Long Island since 1951, working as a land surveyor, attending church, and raising grandchildren. The opened files prove everything. The Americans can't ignore it. They deport him to the Soviet Union in 1987, making him the last Nazi the Soviets ever prosecute. He dies in prison 2 months later, still maintaining his innocence. The Soviet Union collapses in 1991. The KGB becomes the FSB, and Russia inherits the files. The hunt officially ends. Or does it? 70 years. 3 generations of hunters, 250,000 names on the original list. The Soviets captured thousands, executed hundreds, turned dozens into double agents, exposed Western hypocrisy and weaponized Nazi hunting throughout the Cold War. But here's the bitter truth. Most SS men died free. They became grandfathers and respected citizens. They attended church and they forgot what they did. Or at least, they pretended to. In dusty Moscow basements, filing cabinets still hold yellowing folders, names that were never crossed off, faces that were never found, crimes that were never punished. The last Soviet agent who worked these cases died in 2012. He was 93 years old, and he kept searching until the very end. Today, historians estimate that fewer than 10 SS war criminals remain alive. All of them are over 95. All of them are beyond justice. But their files stay open. Somewhere in Russia, in Israel, and in Germany, someone still watches. Someone still waits. Because some hunts never end. They simply pass to the next generation. The hunters taught us something profound. Evil men can run. They can hide, and they can change their names. They can deceive governments, but they cannot escape memory. And memory, it turns out, is the ultimate hunter. What began as Stalin's vengeance became humanity's longest manhunt. It outlived the Soviet Union. It outlived most of the criminals. It outlived the hunters themselves. But it never outlived the need for justice. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more fascinating World War II historical deep dives every week.